Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph D. Meaches, one of the calendar's astrologers. This is part of our series on action actors as compared to action actresses. That's a whole other series. These are action actors. And this one's especially interesting because we do not have the time of the actor, but he's done a lot of work, and his physical presence is so obvious that we have a pretty good idea, at least a good idea of how we can make a guess. Let's put it that way. And it's Jason Statham, born on July 26, 1967. We're saying about 2:30 in the afternoon. He was born in Shirebrook, England. Now, he's not real tall. He's like 5'10", but if you see him, he's very solidly built. He's a very solidly built person. What's really fascinating about him was that, one, he did a lot of martial arts when he was young. And today, when he does the movies, he does his own stunts and his own action scenes, his own fighting scenes. He's very, very good at this stuff. They like to view him as kind of an anti-hero because he plays that hero that's not, the twinkly smile hero. He's the hero who barely ever smiles kind of character. Leo is not a typical sign we see in action actors. However, the only thing he has in Leo, besides the sun, is Jupiter, the planet of athletic skills. What's interesting, if you look back at his history, he grew up with a father who was a street merchant. He sold things on the street, from stands and such. He was very, very much about kind of making the deal. Later on, even when he got into acting to make ends meet, Jason was a street seller. In fact, kind of in the black market side of the street. So you have to think, well, how does that show up in his chart? What's interesting, when the first serious roles he got from Guy Ritchie, who was just starting out at the time, was as a street seller, because he was just such a natural. He understood all about the role. So you have to combine this great physicality, this tendency to be kind of a wheeler and a dealer, this great visibility. I mean, he's someone whose life is really out there in the open, and a love of water. Why a love of water? Well, he's from England. This is not a place you think of like swimmers. And yet he was on England's national diving team. He was a world-class competitor, was in the Commonwealth Games, did very, very well at this, loves the water. This is a kid who did not come from a wealthy background. His mother was a dancer. His father was a lounge singer on the Canary Islands. Really interesting background, but he loves the water. So we think, let's put water at the rising. So either Cancer rising maybe, or Pisces or Scorpio. But he's got this tremendous physicality, and he's got Mars in Scorpio. And a strong Mars is something we see in these action performers. The fact that he does his own stunts, you kind of make you think, Mars rising. He's a very physical kind of guy. So Scorpio rising, that gives him the water at the rising, that love of water. It gives him Mars right there prominent. Right below the horizon, or right in that same cluster, would be Vesta, which is someone who has a very strong sense of mission. And to be this successful, you have to have a strong sense of mission. And Neptune, the planet which is a little bit hazy, a little bit edgy. You can't see Neptune without a telescope, and it's about illusion, and it's in Scorpio. So kind of this ability to understand that side of life as a street seller and such is really quite a talent that he has. It makes him very intuitive. And if you watch him, you can tell he's a person who's very intuitive. He's very aware of his surrounding space. I think his work with other actors, he has a very easy kind of emotional give and take with him, even though he's quite feisty. If you watch like the movie Hobbs and Shaw, for instance, the banter between him and Dwayne Johnson is really caustic. Well, where does that come from? Well, banter, that's Mercury. Where's his Mercury? It's in the ninth house, the house of athletic skills, and Cancer, right? Cancer, it's actually, Mercury is conjunct with 1 degree of Pallas Athena, the skill asteroid. In the ninth house, athletic skill. Well, being a diver who dives into the pools from great heights, the ninth house, doesn't that pretty much describe that Mercury, as a kid, or as a young man, conjunct Pallas Athena, high skills, and he practiced every single day. He was very relentless in his work. That's a Vesta rising, which is trying all of that. Part of fortune in the ninth house. Part of fortune. Okay, how did this lead to money for him? When he was part of the national team, there was a modeling agency that specialized in athletes, finding athletes for major campaigns. Guess who they tagged? Jason. He did work for a lot of the major clothes manufacturers, and this really got him started in this. It was later on, like I said, Guy Ritchie got him into it because he was such a perfect role, because he had been a street seller. He understood the role, and he was such a good-looking guy. So you're starting to really see that these connections of the Scorpio rising, the Mercury and the Pallas in the ninth house, all this water connection is really working well. The Scorpio rising, the Scorpio Mars, that really plays into the action part. Remember, in these action actors, there's typically strong Aries, strong Scorpio, strong Gemini, or strong Virgo. Usually combinations of these. These are the pawns on the chessboard. Go there, Jason, go do that. Okay. Doesn't think twice about it. So, do we have any Gemini in the chart? No, there's no strong Gemini, no planets in Gemini. How about Virgo? Oh, ding, 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 ding. We have Venus in Virgo, conjunct Pluto, and then just beyond that, Uranus and Juno, all up in the 11th house. The 11th house is where you know people. It's like where you connect with people. It's also where you make your money. Venus and Virgo is a really interesting position because it's actually what's called the fall position. The fall position is kind of, if you thought of a theater and all the different people who work in the theater, know who the fall position, the Venus and Virgo is? It's the person who does the makeup. It's the makeup artist behind there, the dresser. It's the person behind the scenes that, the actor shares all their secrets with and talks to about their issues on the course of the day. I mean, they say, no actor is ever famous to their dresser because the dresser knows how they get put together. And that Venus in Virgo shows this love of being behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, he's probably quite the craftsman. The fact that Pluto and Uranus is there, it gives a lot of energy to it. I mean, a lot of energy. That Pluto, remember, he's born in 67. That Pluto-Uranus conjunction was a very powerful conjunction. Both outer planets in Virgo, strong sense of, getting things done. So you have that Sun in Leo, the Jupiter in Leo, this high visibility, this really desire to be athletic and to be out there in the world, this high craftsmanship that comes from the Venus, Pluto, and Uranus and Virgo in the 11th house. This is all with this, with the Scorpio rising, it puts it all up there, this high visibility. With a lot of what you'd call movie stars these days, you have a lot of planets above the horizon. Years ago, they were below the horizon. They had one planet sticking up. Everything came out through there. A lot of times Saturn, that desired to perform, like Halle Berry's chart. Everything's below the horizon except for one planet, and she's more of a classic actress. You really didn't see her except through that. In fact, it's kind of interesting because she just came out with a new movie. I think she's in her 50s now, where it's all athletic. It's all physical. And isn't that Saturn? As we get older, we get tougher. I mean, that's a really kind of classic example. It's really about, I'm athletic, I'm martial, and I'm right out there in the world. So it very much works for that. The strong Mercury trining the rising, it makes that strong Mercury. Remember, we're looking for a strong Mercury and a strong Mars. Mercury is not, it's not normally that strong in Cancer. But remember, Jupiter's exaltation sign is Cancer. It connects to the moon, right? So what's the moon doing on all of this? Now we get really into the kind of the core of it. If you put this chart at 2:30 p.m., the moon is at 0 degrees Aries, one of the most martial moons. I mean, really aggressive in the 6th house, right? In the same sign with Saturn. So endurance. Now they're not conjunct, but the moon in the 6th house means that in their work, they expect to be physically active. They expect to be involved. I mean, he seeks out action roles. He can't help himself. It's the roles he likes. He wants, with Mars rising, moon in the 6th in Aries, both in martial signs, the two Mars-ruled signs, the extrovert signs. He can't help himself. He likes being in this let's mix it up. This is why he does his own stunts. He does his own action roles. So it's a really great chart. As a real craftsman, what's fun about it is that Mercury, Pallas, and Cancer trining that rising and trining that Neptune. He has an underside. He has that hidden, the old street seller. And the black market is there beneath the surface. It's like, yeah, I'm a great actor, but can I sell you a watch? Trust me, it's Rolex. There's the other current to him, which is actually very kind of sexy. It's very enticing, because it does show this other sense of vulnerability. So that's Jason. Fascinating chart. Like I said, unusual in that he's a Leo. You don't find a lot of Leos among these action roles. They usually like to be more dramatic, more, put me on the stage and let everyone love me. I'm sure he still loves that. So come see us every Tuesday when we do our portraits. We do those once a week. We hope they're educational. We hope you get a lot out of them. Come see us every Friday for the forecast. You can find both of them at Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit that little bell to remind you that when they're coming up, because you want to have your forecast, because the forecast will tell you what's happening in the coming week. They're designed to go along with the calendar. You can also find your calendars and your day planners and your pocket version and the digital version all at planetarycalendar.com. Until next time, be well.